Malaria kills about 2 million people every year. 90% of those deaths occurs in Africa. One child that dies every 30 seconds. Past campaigns to kill and eradicate the mosquitoes have had serious problems, so we are exploring a new approach. Instead of killing the mosquito, genetically modifying it so that it is unable to transmit the parasite. We have discovered certain gene products that are able to interrupt the cycle of the parasite in the mosquito, and that served as the basis of the first transgenic mosquito that is resistant to the malaria parasite. Next task will be to develop means to spread those genes into the mosquito populations in the field.
To see the mosquito collections through from field work and lab work makes the work much more personal, and meeting the children and the people that the work directly impacts is very meaningful.
There are so many people who die every day of malaria, and the prospect of contributing to relieve this incredible suffering and death is very important to me.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the Bloomberg Seminar Series. And also, these highlight tapes that we're showing you are just small glimpses into what we offer here at the school. And we know our time with you is limited today, but we want to give you those glimpses, as many glimpses as we can into what we offer here at the school. So we hope you enjoy them. Our next presenter, we're actually shifting gears now. We're going to hear a little bit about SOURCE, which stands for our Student Outreach Resource Center, and also a little bit about Baltimore, and then hearing directly from our students who are here to take questions and answer your questions about life in Baltimore. So I'd like to introduce the director and founder of SOURCE, Mindy Levin, as she's going to be talking a little bit about her office and then also facilitating the student panel. So Mindy?
Hi, everyone. Welcome again to Johns Hopkins. I'm sure you've heard that a bunch of times, but I'm also here to welcome you to Baltimore. Every year, Leslie and the team ask me to come and give a talk about Baltimore. One of the reasons is our center solely works in Baltimore City, and I'm a native of Baltimore as well, so I have many years living here. So I'm going to start off by just giving you a little bit of information about our center. Student Outreach Resource Center, we are the Community Service and Service Learning Center, and we serve not only the School of Public Health, but also the School of Nursing and School of Medicine, which are located right next to us on this campus. Now, the main message I bring to you as potential Bloomberg School of Public Health students is that we really encourage our students, as well as our faculty and staff, to collaborate with public health organizations, nonprofits, local health departments, all here in Baltimore. And there's a lot of reasons why we encourage you to be connected to some of these organizations. Obviously, one of the nice things we have for you is that you're going to have a lot of time in the classroom learning about the theory. We give you an opportunity to actually have a practical experience in the field, so you're linking that theory and practice. I can also say that a lot of the groups that we work with are pretty understaffed. And what has happened is we've built this collaboration and these relationships with many of these organizations that when the school year begins, they're waiting for our new crop of students to come and assist them with fulfilling their mission. For those of you that are really interested in the kind of career development aspect, you have an opportunity to network with people, build your resume or CV, get your feet wet. And of course, for many of you that are new to Baltimore, or if Baltimore will be a brand new city for you, particularly if you're in a doctoral program where you're going to be here for a longer period of time, this is going to be your new home for a while. So this is an opportunity for you to learn more and connect with neighbors. Now, Baltimore is not unlike other cities all over the United States and all over the world. Some of the things that we are focusing on here in terms of our health challenges relate to diabetes, hypertension, obesity, substance abuse and smoking. I pulled up an interesting fact for you all here. When the 2000 census was completed, 10% of Americans were living below the poverty line. However, here in East Baltimore, this particular section of the city where our schools sit, about 32% of that population live below the poverty line. So obviously you can see we have some major needs right here in our own backyard. Now, Source, we partner with about 100 nonprofits and community-based organizations all here in Baltimore City. And we have a particular focus on Baltimore City because with the quarter system, you don't necessarily have as much time for travel. So we try to keep it right here in our neighborhoods. Now, obviously, I don't have time to talk to you about all 100 of our organizations, but these are just the categories, the different types of organizations that we partner with. So no matter what your particular health topic you're interested in, if there's a particular disease, or if there's a population that you really want to serve, I encourage you to go ahead and peruse our website. It's open to the public, and I have our link here as well, which you probably have some information in your various packets. But if you go to the school's homepage /source, you can find our full directory of organizations and start to learn about and read more about all of our community organizations and the type of work they do, as well as the ways that our students and faculty and staff have been connected to them. Now, our involvement opportunities are really vast, and this is really important for me to highlight to you all. As I said at the beginning, we're the Community Service and Service Learning Center, which basically means that we have a whole array of ways that you connect with our community groups. So regardless of how much time you think you have to work in the community, we can help you find the right opportunity. We have one-time opportunities, ongoing opportunities, short-term programs, and then one of the really nice things that we enjoy in the school is that there's a lot of courses in the school where you're required to do a project with a community organization. Typically these are called service learning or experiential learning courses. And so we work with our community partners. They identify their needs. One of our core values is that we respond to community identified needs, and then we help to recruit our students to connect with those organizations. So you'll definitely hear a lot more from Source when you decide to come to Hopkins. On top of all the different ways that we connect our students, faculty, and staff to the community, we also have events and programs that run throughout the entire duration of the year. In the fall, we bring all of our community partners, we invite them to campus, and we have a very large community involvement fair, so you can have an opportunity to go around and meet the organizations, learn about their missions, see if there's a good connection. The very first week of October, we have Baltimore Week. We found about 6 years ago that so many students and faculty and staff were new to Baltimore and wanted to learn more about the city. And we wanted to highlight some of the wonderful assets that we have in our community. For some folks, what you have heard about Baltimore when you're coming from other locations is maybe what you've seen on television. And so we want to paint a different picture where you see kind of all the good, the bad, and everything in between about Baltimore City. We do tours of the city. So you get to go around and see the different locations that we work with, hear a little bit about the history, and learn more about our health challenges while you see it with your own eyes. We do a lot of work with student groups. Also, every single month we bring our community partners to campus to give talks. They're a part of the teaching environment for you all. And we also highlight during National Volunteer Week, which we're gearing up for now, we do appreciation, recognition, and major awards for those folks that are engaged in the community. Now, if this is the kind of thing that really speaks to you, whether you're interested in just working directly with a population, if you're interested in community-based participatory research, I really encourage you to stay connected to our center. One of the things that we have is a resource called our Source Weekly Service Scoop. And the Scoop is basically our newsletter that comes out every Tuesday, and it lists the latest involvement opportunities. Of course, if you're on Facebook or if you're on Twitter, go ahead and like us or follow us, and we have lots of information coming out those ways as well. Now, the rest of the time I really want to focus on giving you some more information about Baltimore. So I'm going to give you a little bit about our special dialect that we have here in the city, some famous Baltimoreans, a little bit about our transportation. It's not the best transportation, but it's not the worst, and we have some great resources for you. Entertainment, shopping, living in Baltimore, et cetera, et cetera. And then I will bring up our student panelists to talk to you more about the neighborhoods where they live here in Baltimore. All right, so Balmorese, okay, so this is our dialect. How many of you are actually from Baltimore? Okay, so I have a couple locals in the room that can help me out, right? Maryland, state of Maryland. How many people are not from Baltimore or Maryland? Oh, good portion of you. Welcome, friends. All right, so when you hear people speaking, you might hear people say, welcome to Balmer, Maryland. Balmer, Maryland. we have a tendency in Baltimore to sometimes add an additional letter to a word or take out a letter or just a piece of the word. It's just what we do. I don't know. So if somebody says Baltimore, they're talking about Baltimore, and Maryland is Maryland. When it's getting, the weather's starting to get nice, we might say we're going Annie Ocean Hunt. You go on Annie Ocean, that's where we're talking about. We're going down to the ocean, which is Ocean City, Maryland, a popular destination for vacationing locally. Hun. All right, so if you arrived to Baltimore, particularly if you go to a restaurant or maybe when you came into BWI Airport, if somebody greets you and calls you Hun, don't be offended by that. It's just how we greet people often, and it's basically the short for the word honey, but it can also be used as how we describe a particular person. So one of the things that I'll tell you a little bit more about when we get to the neighborhoods is that Baltimore has a whole series of neighborhoods where every single neighborhood has its own flavor. And we have very quirky little neighborhoods and different personalities and types of people that choose to live in those neighborhoods. So one of our neighborhoods is Hamden, and Hamden is where we have a lot of the Huns, and ladies like this with the beehive hairdos. And actually, in June of every year, they have an annual Hun Fest where everyone and their mother and their dogs are dressed up like Huns, and the streets are really, really packed. So some fun, quirky, kitschy kind of stuff. Because we're on a medical campus, the ambulance is going to go by all the time. So again, taking out a little piece of the word, an ambulance, but somebody might just say ambulance. When we're talking about our clothing, when we're getting ready to go to work, you might iron your clothes, iron your clothing, or wash. Okay, so we tend to throw in these R's every now and then, so you might wash your clothes. And then this guy here, he's a part of the O's or the Oreos, which is the Baltimore Orioles, our baseball team here in Baltimore. Now, every time that I do this slide about famous Baltimoreans, there are people that are emailing me, oh, you have to say this person and that person, this person. There are tons of people from Baltimore that are famous. Everything from film writers, authors, plenty of athletes, Robin Quivers from Howard Stern, actors, a lot of famous politicians, whether you approve of them or not, they are from Baltimore. Edgar Allan Poe, Harriet Tubman, Monique is a big new pride because of her Oscar-winning status from last year. So a lot of local celebrities. The list could go on and on forever. Now, one of the nice things about Baltimore is that we have great access to many of our local leaders and our state leaders. And for the Bloomberg School of Public Health, these people are constantly coming here, walking our halls, teaching your classes. You have an opportunity to connect with them. So you see our governor and our lieutenant governor at the top, our mayor, Stephanie Rawlings Blake, and then our city council president, and then our relatively new City Health Commissioner, Dr. Barbeau, has come to us from New York City. And as a matter of fact, we're bringing her this coming Monday afternoon to talk to our students, faculty, and staff to talk about the future of health in Baltimore City. So again, it's a wonderful way to connect when you're here at Bloomberg. Now, when we're talking about getting around Baltimore, as I said earlier, we don't have the best public transportation, but it's growing, it's getting better. One of the nice things about Hopkins is that we have a free shuttle service, and it's really vast. Mainly because Hopkins is the largest employer in the state of Maryland. So many folks from around other parts of Baltimore City, as well as the surrounding counties, need to come right here to this campus. So we have a free shuttle. We have a lot of our students and faculty and staff that live closer to our Homewood undergraduate campus, and they just use Hopkins free shuttle to come to school or to come to work each day. We have some other neighborhoods where these free shuttles are coming from. We have an eastern campus. There's a neighborhood called Mount Washington. And then one of the other nice things about Baltimore is that there are about 10 different colleges and universities right around Baltimore City and Baltimore County. So there's an organization that's called Baltimore College Town Network, and the Baltimore College Town Network basically has a shuttle system called the Colltown Shuttle. And it is connecting these various colleges and universities by a free bus. And that free bus still goes near the Homewood undergraduate campus. Now, in terms of public transportation, we do have our metro system and our light rail system. Probably some of you might have come in through Amtrak using the trains and go to Baltimore's Penn Station, and one of our Hopkins shuttles picks up right from Baltimore Penn Station if you're using that for transportation. Extensive bus lines throughout Baltimore City. About a year ago, we implemented a brand new a three-route system called the Charm City Circulator. And the Charm City Circulator is brand new, and it's a wonderful free resource. The third and final route will be live hopefully in the spring, and that's going to connect right here to this campus. And of course, we're close to the airport, and there's also throughout Baltimore's Inner Harbor our water taxi, which is a nice way to get around town as well. If you're interested in learning more about transportation, I put up the Maryland Transportation Authority website at the very bottom, and they're really helpful in terms of showing you the different routes and how to get around and how you can connect wherever you're commuting from. Now, in terms of entertainment, there's tons to do in Baltimore. In terms of if you're interested in galleries and museums, this is just a small sampling of the possibilities that are out there. The pictures that we have at the top is the American Visionary Art Museum, and down here at the very bottom is the Maryland African American History and Cultural Museum, which is an absolutely beautiful museum that is relatively new, about 5 years old. Theaters and concerts. So whether you want to go see a movie or you want to see a live play and all different kinds of performances, things that are off-Broadway or things that are very, very local, again, just a small sampling. There's tons to do around Baltimore. The very top picture is of the historic Senator Theater, which is a movie theater that's recently been saved, if you would. And the very bottom picture is a picture from the west side of town, which is the Hippodrome, and that's where most of those off-Broadway shows are coming here to Baltimore. Now, one of the other things that I really like to promote to people is the fact that there are tons of kind of community-oriented activities that are pretty unique to Baltimore. That whole Baltimore College Town network that I mentioned before offers constant discount tickets to various activities around the city for our students. So there's lots of ways to get free and or reduced admissions. The picture on the top here is actually from another American Visionary Art Museum event that they do every year, which is this big kinetic sculpture race. And you've got tons of people, local students, that are putting together all kinds of contraptions to race them on the streets as well as into Baltimore's harbor in the water. The picture on the bottom is from Hamden around the holidays. They have 34th Street and the big miracle on 34th Street where literally all the neighbors in the community have lights and everybody's gathering around. In the fall, Baltimore has a big Free Fall Baltimore, where most of the museums have free admission in the month of October. We also have tons of different cultural festivals. One of the nice things is that they happen in the fall and the spring, but actually if you're here in the summertime, particularly if you're going to be coming for an MPH program, every weekend there's a different cultural activity going on. So it's a nice way to explore various communities. As a lady, I need to speak to you about shopping. Shopping's important, of course, and we have decent shopping in Baltimore. You know, if you still really want to get to some good shopping, still kind of have to hit New York City. But we do have a lot of nice local boutiques and, of course, the big chains that are out there. We don't have as many of the big chains right in the heart of the city, so you do have to do a little bit of that transportation out to the suburbs a little bit more. But we do have some growing areas. Harbor East is not far from our campus, and there's some nice stores there. In terms of food shopping, you know, we do have all the different local food stores, but we have, there's a Wegmans, there's a Whole Foods in the city, if those are the kinds of things you're looking for. And I just listed at the bottom here just some of the popular shopping areas, and these are just some of the communities around Baltimore. These are also some of the communities where our students, faculty, and staff live, and you'll learn more about them. I am a foodie, a big-time foodie. Baltimore has just a little bit of everything, from the really nice fancy places to really small privately owned restaurants, mom and pop shops. Tapas are big, coffee houses are big. One of the nice things about Baltimore is that we also have a municipal food market system. So in various neighborhoods throughout Baltimore City, you'll have these big markets. One of those markets is the Northeast Market. The Northeast Market is literally 2 blocks down the street. And you can go down there. There's a whole mix of Hopkins folks and community folks that are there buying lunch, healthy and unhealthy, you know, from the salad bar to, you know, fried chicken, everything in between. You could buy socks there, balloons, produce, and the most random knickknacks in the world. So it's a really fun little place to walk through. I encourage you to do so today if you'd like. I am also a diehard sports enthusiast, so whether you are personally interested in sports as a fan or if you're interested in playing sports for physical activity while you're here, there are lots of different ways that you can see sports and be a part of them. I've listed just some of our local sports here. I'm a Ravens fan, so they get the picture. And then, of course, we have local rec teams. And actually, a lot of our students and our student groups form these rec teams here in Baltimore City. And you might be playing kickball or softball or all kinds of things to get your activity in the evenings or on the weekend. One of the nice things about Baltimore is our location. We are so close to so many other locations. So you can do a lovely weekend trip or a day trip. Again, we're about maybe 45 minutes from DC, Philadelphia about an hour and a half, New York is about 2.5, 3 hours, going down the ocean, it's about 2.5 hours from here. Of course, Atlantic City, other locations if you're interested in exploring the wilderness, for those of you that are really interested in the Jersey Shore, not too far from there as well. Okay, so let's talk about housing, because many of you, this is going to be a big selling point for you. Where are you going to live if you decide to come to Baltimore? You do have information in your packets to help you learn more. These are just some of the websites that I can encourage you to connect to find housing, find roommates. As a matter of fact, a lot of our students have found roommates from Visitors Day, so make sure you're making some friends while you're here. Our housing office here on campus, they have a lot of information about people looking for roommates or people that have housing available, and it's really well connected to Hopkins. In our Hopkins newspaper, which is the Gazette, you'll see people from Hopkins that are posting that they have rooms available or they want to rent out to you. The Baltimore Sun is our local newspaper, and there we have classifieds. An organization here in Baltimore called Live Baltimore, which helps students, locals, all find out about rental properties or even buying. It's a great time to buy if you're going to be here for a long time. Our city paper comes out every Wednesday. The Baltimore College Town Network, that same group, again, they have various colleges and universities and people throughout the city that are helping to have housing for students that are at a little bit of a reduced rate. And then, of course, tons of people have said Craigslist is the way to go. Now, again, I want to point out where some of the popular neighborhoods are based on where we see our students residing. Charles Village, Mount Vernon, Fells Point, Canton. There are many others that we'll get into, but just again, to get you kind of used to hearing about these particular neighborhoods. Now, when you're coming to Baltimore, if you need to get connected because you are looking to find others to worship with, there's lots of information about the various religions and where you can worship with others. If you have children or will be having children, if you're looking for childcare or for school opportunities, there's a lot of resources, and Hopkins has a work-life program that helps us connect. And then again, Baltimore, while we don't have as much green space as some other cities, we do have some nice green spaces. Our closest park connected to here is Patterson Park, and this is actually a picture from Patterson Park. And there's a lot of activities there. There's a pond. There are lots of athletic teams. There's an ice skating rink. A lot of fun stuff really close by. Again, I want to make sure that you know what our local newspapers and magazines are, where people are getting their information. I mentioned Live Baltimore. Our city paper, the Baltimore Sun. The picture you see on the bottom, the red background, is Baltimore's Urbanite, which is a relatively young magazine that comes out every month, and we constantly have our students, our faculty, our staff doing op-eds and pieces in the Urbanite. All right, so with that, I have spoken plenty, and I see that my panelists are hanging out in the wings, so I will ask them to make their way toward the stage and join me up here. All right, folks, before I get started with the panelists, we do have a couple of maps that we're going to use and kind of point out where these neighborhoods are, because I know we're talking a completely foreign language to you if you're not from Baltimore, so we're throwing these neighborhoods. So I want to just quickly highlight a couple of things on this map. This is just a section of Baltimore.
Can you need to be at the mic?
Thanks, Professor Kloss. I forgot I have to be on the mic because we're recording this, so for visitors from afar. All right, so this is just a map of a section of Baltimore City, and what I have here is this little blue smiley face. This is where we are. This is Hopkins. And then some other parts about Baltimore City are these two red lines, one that's going this way and one going here. This is Charles Street. And Charles Street is what basically divides our city from east side and west side. And then this other red line here is Baltimore Street. And Baltimore Street divides the city from north and south. So locals like myself that have been around for a while, when I tell you I'm going to meet you somewhere, I can easily say I'm going to meet you in the northeast corner of X, Y, and Z, because I know where I am in relation to these two different areas. So that's when we're talking about North Baltimore, South, East, West, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually give each of our student panelists about 2 minutes each. They're going to each introduce themselves. They're going to tell you their name, what program they're in and department, and what neighborhood they're living in. And they're going to basically talk for about 2 minutes about the things that they enjoy about their neighborhoods. So.
Working? All right. So my name is Brian Gordon. I am a second-year master's student in the Department of Population, Family, and Reproductive Health, and am currently residing in Reed Hall, which is the graduate student dorm here on campus. I lived there last year as well. So on the map, it's basically right where we are, which is one of the great things that I do like about it is I can wake up in 5 minutes, I can be in class, so I can avoid the shuttle and things of that nature. It is a little bit less expensive than some other places compared to other students that I've spoken with. And so I think a lot of whatever we're going to share with you today, it's a matter of what you value personally. So for me, I value the proximity to the campus. I like that it's cheaper. I recognize that I'm a graduate student with a lot of loans, so I'd like to save some money for the time being. I like being surrounded by a lot of classmates. Also, medical students live in the dorm, so you get some collaboration with them, which is pretty neat. And so I guess I will turn it over.
Hi, my name is Kate Katzman, and I'm a Master's of Public Health student here. So I've been here for about 9 months. And I live in just across the street from Patterson Park, so just on that line between Butchers Hill and Upper Fells Point. So I can't get to class as quickly, but it takes me about 15 minutes walking, approximately, comfortably. So, and there's also a free shuttle that runs in the mornings and the evenings that I can take, which really is helpful if I stay late studying. What I like about my neighborhood is there's a huge park across the street. It's basically the Central Park of Baltimore. In the summer, there are lots of free concerts, outdoor movies. Around Christmas time, there was a lantern parade that was so much fun, yeah, to go to, and I can get there really easily. I can also get to school easily, but there's still some separation between school and where I live, which I really appreciate. And there's also a lot of restaurants in the area around that Upper Fells Point area. There's a lot to do and a lot to see. So I think I'll give it to you.
And my name's Ann Sawyer. I'm a PhD student, or PhD candidate, excuse me, in the Department of Mental Health. And I've been here a little over 7 years. I live on the other side of the park in Highlandtown, which to saying all the great things about the park, especially the Lantern Parade, not on Mindy's list of unique Baltimore events, but it is one. And I like that separation from school a lot there. It's it's a working class neighborhood that it's somewhat gentrified, but things sort of stopped in the economy. So it's very mixed racially and in terms of SES, which I really like. Eastern Avenue along there in Highlandtown is a little main street. There's supermarkets, dollar stores. There's one of the best thrift stores. It's the home of the $3 cashmere sweater. Value Village is there. Anyway, and there are actually 3 supermarkets you can get to, which is something you need to think about when you pick your neighborhood in Baltimore, especially if you aren't going to have a car. I would say you could live in Highlandtown without a car. There are 2 city buses that come close to campus, when very close. There is that shuttle in the northwest corner of Patterson Park, so you have to walk about halfway to school, but it's about a 40-minute walk, and walking, biking, you could do. Anyway. Oh.
My name's Jeremy. I'm a first-year student in the Department of International Health, Social and Behavioral Interventions, and I live in Upper Fells Point, so not too far away from where Kate lives. And I really like Upper Fells Point in that you can walk to Patterson Park, about a 10-minute walk from school, and you can walk down to the harbor on Fells Point. And there are all sorts of restaurants in Falls Point that are really neat to see. I play Frisbee at Patterson Park, just kind of pick up, not an affiliated rec league. And so it's really nice to be able to go there pretty easily. Like Highlandtown, it's a pretty racially diverse area, and you'll see a lot of different types of people there. And it's not necessarily a very, going out neighborhood. You're not gonna, but it's kind of quiet and has its own charm to it. And I like all the little local places that there are to go.
I'm Laura. I'm in the MPH program in the SBS concentration. I live on the edge of Charles Village near the undergraduate campus. I chose Charles Village because I don't have a car, and when I asked around, that was one of the really accessible neighborhoods. I can walk to the grocery store. I have a great farmer's market, which is actually year-round, unlike a lot of the others. So pretty much everything I need I can get to very easily. I'm also very close to the shuttle line, and it's the most extensive of the shuttle lines and runs all through the evening on weekends and weekdays. Other things I like about it, I like, even though I like living in a city, I also like having trees and things like that around me. So I have a quiet little tree-lined street, and I'm right near the undergraduate campus, which is also really pretty. And the Baltimore Museum of Art and the Sculpture Garden are nice places to take a good steady break. And other things, it's near the undergraduate gym has a rock wall, so if anybody likes to rock climb, great place to go. Good steady break. And yeah.
Hi, my name is Justine. I'm a first-year master's student in the Department of International Health and concentrating in nutrition. I'm also in student assembly, and so is Brian, so quick plug for student assembly. Please drop by our table during the activities fair. I'm living in Mount Vernon, right on the edge of downtown in Mount Vernon. Yeah. And I really enjoy it because it's right in what I call the heart of the city, and it's very easy to get to downtown. There's a lot of really nice restaurants. If I wanted to get down to Inner Harbor, there's a free shuttle, the Charm City Circulator. Did you guys talk about that? And that's probably only like 10 minutes on the ride, but I've walked there in good weather, and it's like a really nice 20-minute walk. And I mean, I live right next to the Peabody, the Walters Art Museum, the monument, and during Christmas time, there's like a monument lighting with like a concert and stuff, and that's really nice. I just really enjoy being in the urban part of the town. I like big cities. I like metropolitan areas, so that's why I picked that area. I live in an apartment building that is right next to a shuttle stop, so I can just get out of bed and just go down the elevator and be at the elevator stop, or the shuttle stop, excuse me. And I guess that's about it.
So I'll also mention there's other faculty and staff in the room to talk about other neighborhoods if you have questions. I personally live in the Federal Hills community, which is on the other side of the water. Again, I need to be close to my Raven Stadium and my Oriole ballpark. Leslie Binks, the lovely hostess for the day, is over in the Canton community. So between the panelists and myself and Leslie, there's 8 different communities that are really popular for our students, faculty, and staff. We really want to give the rest of the time for our panelists an opportunity for you all to ask questions of us about living in Baltimore, about neighborhoods, about transportation, whatever's on your mind. So we are happy to take some questions from you all now. And I'm going to repeat questions because we're being filmed. The question was, would we say that Baltimore is bike friendly?
I used to ride my bike a lot here. However, I will say I had it stolen. You are allowed, I think it's still illegal to ride your bike on the sidewalk. Coming from where I came from, I rode, through the park and then as much on the sidewalk as I could. There are bike lanes, but I think depending on the neighborhood, people may not observe them well. But I think the only reason the police kept it illegal, they wanted an excuse to be able to stop people if they could, but they won't stop you for riding on the sidewalk unless I think it's really populated and whatever.
Anybody bikers?
I think that navigating some of the roads is not so intuitive at first, But once you get your kind of routes down, like I don't have a car and I bike to to where I get my groceries. So at first I would bike along these large roads because that's the only way I knew. But once you kind of get to know it a little bit better, you can find some of the back roads, and it's actually really nice to bike in.
I'll add one more point to that, is that in the school we have our own, at the bottom of this building, there's a VIP parking, as well as that's where we have our bicycle racks. And so they are secure. There is a security guard there, so your bikes are safe when they get here to campus. Yeah. We do have a lot of faculty and staff and students that bike. One of our faculty members bikes every single day, no matter the weather. So.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I do see a lot of students biking, and I have heard that a lot of students in the Charles Village area in particular bike a lot because the undergrads bike around there. But also, not just for going to school, but recreationally, there are a lot of bike trails in the area, so it'd still be worth it to bring your bike if you enjoy it.
Thanks, Kate. Other questions? Continue to take them. Right here. Okay, so I hope I summed this up correctly. She wants to know, what's the typical schedule like from when you start and stop classes, and she knows that you're all in different programs, and then is it safe to walk around here when it's dark outside? What is the shuttle schedule? How are we transporting people when it's after dark?
I think in terms of a typical day, it really just depends on your classes and stuff. My classes this quarter only ran from for 5 hours, so I don't have a full day, but it really depends on your study habits and that sort of thing. My roommate, he is at school all day, and because he chooses to study here and do all that stuff, and he comes home at 11 at night, and the shuttle does run very late. But if you're waiting at the shuttle stop here, I wouldn't worry about your safety. I mean, I've never heard of anybody having problems with, coming home late at night. I don't know about walking because I just take the shuttle, but I've never had a problem on the weekends. I've never had a problem in the evenings, late at night. What was the other?
I've had classes that started at 8:30 in the morning and others that ended at 8:30 in the evening, so it really depends on how you pick your classes. And there's so many different classes to choose from that you can really build your schedule around that. So sometimes I've had lots of classes in the morning, and some I've had almost all of my classes in the evening. And you can mix that up with online classes as well to free up your day. So the shuttle that goes up to Charles Village runs until 2 in the morning and runs really early in the morning. So that's a really easy thing to take. Though at certain times of day, it runs more frequently than other times. So if it's an evening shuttle, you may just have to time it better, because that time of day it may be every half hour, or on the weekends, sometimes every hour.
So I live in Upper Fells Point, which is somewhat near Patterson Park, and I walk to and from school every day. It's about a 10-minute walk. I have class this term that ends at 7:30 on Thursdays. And the only reason, there is a shuttle that will drop me off at my doorstep if I want. The only reason I usually take that is if I'm tired or if it's raining. I haven't really felt unsafe at any point walking to and from school. There are guards all around the Hopkins campus, and it's really just 4 or 5 blocks after that, and I haven't felt unsafe.
I just wanted to say something about safety. I know it was a big concern for me when I was trying to decide where to live and all that type of stuff, and really, it could just happen anywhere. I mean, I live in an area where the housing prices or rental prices are a little bit more expensive, and you would think, oh, it's nicer and it's safer. That's not necessarily true. My roommate left his iPod in his car during winter break, and somebody broke the window and stole all of it. I mean, and he even admits that was just a dumb thing to do. If you just avoid, dumb things, you really can be safe. I mean, bad things can happen everywhere. So,
yeah, I would just add one thing. Like any city, you have to be careful. I mean, I would not walk around this area after dark with an iPod on or talking on a cell phone. Excuse me. I mean, you need to sort of have your city wits about you, but. I've had a bicycle. I've actually had 3 bicycles stolen, but I've never felt that, yeah, I mean, there's a difference between you feeling like you got to be careful of your stuff and you got to be careful of yourself. and I haven't really felt my person was in danger.
So good points. It's just about living in any city. Things can happen anywhere. You know, would you walk around by yourself at nighttime? No matter where you are, you probably should be walking with somebody else. And again, for cars, one of the most common things that happen in our city is that people break into cars because they see your suction cup where you have your satellite radio or where you have your GPS system. So leave your car empty. Bring it all inside with you. Don't even leave it in the trunk of your car. So my car, you know, I've been living in Baltimore City all my life. I've never had anything happen to my car. Now my husband's car, because he forgets to take the GPS out. So again, leave your cars empty. All right, so let's move on to the next questions. To be honest with you, I probably wouldn't even say there's an area to avoid. I mean, again, the neighborhoods are very unique, so it depends on what you're looking for. I'm really against labeling a neighborhood as this is a good neighborhood or this is a bad neighborhood because things happen everywhere. There's good things in every neighborhood and bad things. So what we're really trying to focus on for you is what are the most popular neighborhoods that are frequented by our students, faculty, and staff, as opposed to saying, don't live there, it's bad. So again, we're giving you, again, a bunch of neighborhoods. We can tell you more about certain areas, but these are just what tends to be popular because they are along those Hopkins shuttle routes. So don't be fooled if somebody says this neighborhood is good, because anything could happen in any area.
I definitely agree. I do think that housing was a challenge for me to find. I was living on the West Coast, and I wasn't able to come to look at a place, and so I signed my lease blind off of Craigslist. And so kind of driving into Baltimore, I was like, what's this going to be like? You know, I have no idea. But it turned out great, and I kind of had asked a couple of other students that their opinion before signing the lease through Janet, I think, had put me in touch with them. So there are ways that you can kind of find out if it's an area where students live or not, depending on how you would feel comfortable.
Sorry, just a lot of neighborhoods have like, you know, bulletin boards, Yahoo bulletin boards and stuff, and you could look them up and just see what people are saying there. You can get a feel for at least what the people who talk on the bulletin board.
And certainly feel free to contact the admissions office. We have student ambassadors that are happy to talk with you about various neighborhoods. I'm more than happy to be a resource for people with my vast Baltimore knowledge. Okay, so right here, right? Okay, so the question is, if you're coming here, do you need a car or not? If you don't have a car, how's that? And if you do have a car, how much do you value having a car? How many of you have cars here? All right, cars versus not cars. Cars, you want to respond first?
Sure. So, like I said, I live in Reed Hall. The first 6 months I was here, I actually didn't bring my car because I didn't want to pay for parking. Considering the cost of rent, it was like maybe a quarter of what my rent would be. So I thought that was prohibitive. I found street parking for free. And so I think it's doable without a car, as you can see. I mean, obviously they're getting along just fine. I mean, from Reed Hall, there's shuttles that take you from Reed to the grocery store and back, and then on the weekends they go out to Towson, actually, if you want to do a little bit more extensive shopping, which is nice. In terms of having the car now, it's a little bit easier in terms of I have more flexibility if I want to just go to the grocery store randomly. That is nice. And then in terms of being a little bit more involved with like sports and athletics, like she was mentioning, the Baltimore Sports and Social Club, that makes it a little bit easier. You don't have to worry about people picking you up, or if it's at Patterson, you know, you can walk there. But it adds some convenience, but I don't think it's a necessity.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think it's a necessity. I'm fortunate to live in a place where I feel like everything is really convenient, and the bus system is really pretty easy to navigate once you kind of start going. I value having a car just because my family is in the area, so I'm able to go visit them on the weekends if I need to, and I found that really helpful. But I do know that a lot of people in my row house in my area don't have cars.
I mean, I think I drive about once a week. And I like having the car. It still gives me a thrill. I live in a house, and I can go buy like the Armageddon-sized toilet paper at Costco and stuff. You need a car for that. Although I do know people who did like the zip car thing, or, you know, like rented a car once a month to go do those sort of things, and it's certainly possible.
I'm from California, which is like the car capital of the world. People will not give up their cars for any sort of mass transportation. And I mean, I got by in California not driving when I was in college at UCLA, so I didn't feel a need to bring a car here, especially with I enjoy the public transportation here. I think the Charm City Circulator pretty much takes you wherever you need to go, and the school shuttle kind of covers the rest. I live, within 4 blocks of a grocery store. It was a little bit of a pain in the winter, and the way that I got around that was I would just order groceries online from Safeway.com, and the delivery fee was like $7, but I would go online and try to look for like promo codes, and I'd get like free delivery or like $5 off. I mean, it's just kind of about being creative, but I never felt like not having a car, was a total like disability. I use the train a lot, the train that goes to DC. I go to DC about once or twice a month. I've taken it all the way up to New York, and I mean, there are some delays, but overall, I wouldn't say that there's a huge problem. I don't think it's a total necessity to have a car, but it really just depends on what you like to do. If you are into sports and that kind of thing, and you have to get to the field, you have to get to tennis court, and you don't, it's not convenient to rely on somebody else to get a ride, then yeah, maybe you might want to think about, the car. But I really just wanted to avoid, parking fees and like insurance and gas and having to worry about, the safety of my car and that type of thing. So.
Okay, so for the interest in time, we're going to continue moving forward with your questions. Of course, when you make friends here, you'll find some friends that have cars that can also carpool with the people that don't have cars, which is nice. One of the points that came up was we were talking about parking and how much it costs to park on campus in the various lots. And I'd like to actually invite Scott McVicker on stage. He's the director of our support services, and he can actually give a little bit more information about our parking and our our nearby lots.
Sure. Thank you. I probably don't need this other than for the video folks, so I'll try to tone it down from my normal speaking tone. My name is Scott McVicker. I'm the Director of Support Services, and we offer subsidized parking for students who do choose to bring their vehicles. And we do that at the Church Home lot, and if you want to show them the Church Home area, it's off of East Baltimore Street, so it's right along that north-south border, and it's at the corner of Broadway, between Broadway and Caroline. So it's very conveniently located. There are a number of students. There are shuttle services there. It's about every 10 to 15 minutes it does the circuit. But there are a number of students who will walk from there as well. So if it's just about a mile, it's probably about a 15-minute walk for most people. Just like any other time, if you're walking through the city, obviously we encourage folks to do that in numbers. And if you're coming off the shuttle with somebody, you're going to have plenty of classmates or schoolmates to come do that with. For most people, if it's faculty and staff, they're paying in the neighborhood of about $100, $105 a month to park there. Students pay about $60, $65. So it's a nice rate. And that is a monthly rate. It gets billed directly to your student account, and it just, you just pay and you go. And if you like it, that's great. You can stay, and you're welcome to stay there for your entire time that you're here. If you decide the first couple months you don't like it, then we prorate refunds, and we'll stop billing whenever you want. So it's a come and go, first come, first served. There's plenty of space there. We have never gotten to a point where we felt the need to add additional spaces. So it doesn't matter when you decide to bring your car. You may wait until January because you finally decide that winter here isn't Florida. So so you may decide later in the term or later in your time here that that's something you want to do. There's always plenty of spaces. That's a non-issue. The other thing that I'll mention is that we also have an MTA pass program, $39 a month. You can ride the MTA, which is the buses, the metro, and all of those things throughout the city for that rate, which is obviously significantly cheaper than parking. So for those of you who don't want to bring a car and you are willing to rely on the MTA, then we have a great program that offers student discounts there as well. Okay? Okay.
Yeah, both of my roommates have cars, and they pay for a permit on our street, and that permit is $20 per year. Just good to know.
Other questions? We only have about 5 minutes to go, so make them good. How secure are the parking garages? Corporate security, nicely played.
Welcome, everybody. My name is George Economist, Director of Corporate Security here on the East Baltimore campus. How secure are our garages? Well, each of our garages has a security officer that's either stationed inside the garage or just at the vehicle entrance of the garage. We do patrols through all of our garages hourly, mobile patrols when the weather's right. We have bicycle patrols, and then we do have we have a specialized unit that rides around on segways as well. So from that perspective, our garages are pretty secure. Thank you.
All right, so I'm actually going to take the liberty of asking a question, a really quick one. How much do each of you pay in your neighborhoods for your rent? So again, say your neighborhood and how much you pay, just so we have an idea of ranges, and if you want to talk about ranges in your neighborhoods.
My name's Jeremy. I live in Upper Fells. I pay $516 a month. I'd say that's on the cheaper side of things. I'd say more likely $600, $650 for that neighborhood. I live in a small room.
Can you also say how many people you live with?
Oh, I live with 2 other students at Hopkins, and yeah.
Okay. I live in Charles Village. My rent is $550. I have a really nice 3-bedroom house, big kitchen, front porch, back deck with a grill, great for barbecues. I have 2 roommates who are also in the program.
My name is Justine. I live in Mount Vernon. I have somebody else living in the apartment with me. He has his own room and bathroom. I have my own room and bathroom, and we each pay $850 a month. So it's kind of, I picked a pricey place. But that's, I mean, my friend lives probably 5 blocks from me, still in Mount Vernon, and she pays like $600 for everything included for a studio. So it's a big range.
I live in Highlandtown. I live in a 12-foot wide row house. It's about 900 square feet, 3 rooms downstairs, 2 rooms up, unfinished basement. I pay $790, and I live there all by myself. There are places that cost more, but they probably are renovated with a couple of bathrooms, maybe a finished basement, so you could fit more than 1 person in there.
Wow, I pay $700 and I live by myself in an apartment in a row house.
I pay about $490, $495, and live by myself in Reed Hall. I think I failed to mention, but that's another nice aspect is it's actually billed through your tuition, so you really have no bills. So coming here, you don't have to worry about setting up electricity, cable, internet, all of that's just kind of ready. So it's a simple way of living. So if that's important to you, that's nice. And I forgot to mention, we're right next door to the Cooley Center and the pool when it's open. So it's been convenient to keep health a priority.
All right, probably maybe 1 or 2 questions. Never mind. We have plenty of time. I'm actually going to be leaving you because I teach class in a few minutes with a couple of these guys. So right here. Athletic facilities that are available to students nearby.
I will quickly comment. So on the 9th floor, if you haven't gotten a tour, there's the Cooley Center here, which is a fitness center right next to the dorm. I mentioned is also the Cooley Center. It's a little bit larger facility that has a basketball court and then an upper level that has a track on it. And they have like aerobic rooms where they have different sort of workout classes. They also have intramurals in there, so they have like dodgeball, volleyball, things of that nature. All the parks are great for that. I mentioned there's the Baltimore Sports and Social Club, so I've done flag football with them, softball, all sorts of different things with them. She mentioned the undergrad. Homewood has, I think, a much larger gym that has rock. So.
Yeah, so the undergraduate gym is not part of our program here, but it's $15 a month. So if you like to rock climb, it's really reasonable. They also have a pool. They have an indoor track. It's a really, really nice gym.
My apartment has a very small gym in the first floor, and that's included in rent. Electricity, water, and gas are also included in rent, as well as the business center, and so that's why the rent is so high. But I'm just saying, there's some people who, you know, they want to go to the gym, but they don't want to pay, you know, the monthly whatever, and so they do find places that have gyms on the first floor, and that's an option.
All right, I am going to continue taking questions because Leslie said we still have a few more minutes, but I'm actually going to ask Scott and George to come on stage and join us. A couple of us have to run because we have a noon class, so we'll have them take over, and Leslie's going to continue taking questions. So it was really nice seeing people. We will see you this afternoon at the activities fair, so make sure you stop by. Leslie, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Thank you to the panelists for helping us out, too. But we still want to take your questions. Yes, we're still doing sit down. I'm just kidding. If you don't have class, you're still working. I'm just kidding. Another, question. The question is, how much of a challenge is it to live outside of the city? And I guess. Oh. I'm not a practice.
Okay. One of the things is we have a metro station that comes right into the Johns Hopkins Hospital at the outpatient center. That line runs out to the Owings Mills area to the west side. And we do have light rail stations as well. And the one problem with Maryland transportation is that the light rail doesn't tie to the subway, so you do have to walk a couple blocks where they do intersect, because then you could take the light rail down south of the city. So northwest of the city, you have the subway. South of the city, you have light rail. North of the city, you have light rail. And then you have the mass transit, the buses that run pretty good throughout the city. And then you get out into the Baltimore County areas, and you have some straight-in thoroughfares on Belair Road, Perring Parkway, Harford Road. So those are options for you.
I was going to say, for anyone who's interested, Anne Arundel County, again, they're connected as well. Glen Burnie area has light rail, and then as you head into Howard County, which is a little bit farther southwest, there are commuter lines for MTA as well. So you have lots of options, and it's just a matter of, again, what you value, how much flexibility you want, and whether or not you want to drive.
Yes.
There are actually 3 people in my concentration of 17 people who commuted from DC, so that's kind of a large percentage. And they, I guess they found it to be fine. I can't really speak exactly for them, but they never had a problem with it. They did it every single day. I have one classmate that comes just for like 1 or 2 hours and just goes home. She has a house in U Street, so she did think about renting a place here and just living here 5 days a week and then going home to her boyfriend on the weekends, but she decided not to do that, so she comes here on the weekends. I will say that the DC people, might not be able to make it to a lot of the extracurricular activities that we hold, so I guess that's something you might want to think about. But as far as I know, the people that commute from DC, they enjoy it, and it's really easy with the MARC. I think the MARC has a student rate. If you plan on riding every day, they have like a monthly student rate. Just go to the website and you'll be able to find it.
You'll find that a lot of the folks that take the MARC train can come right up to Penn Station, and then they can shuttle from Penn Station, so that's convenient. And we also find that a number of them will also drive because they do want to stick around for some of the extracurricular activities.
More questions? Back in the back. The question is about different neighborhoods that are conducive to parking and the circumstances surrounding that.
One of the things that Baltimore City has implemented here over the past few years is the residential parking permit program. Especially in the Fells Point, Canton, Federal Hill areas, due to all the attractions there, the bars, the restaurants, the sports arenas. And that's where I believe one of the students says that their roommate pays $20 a year for that permit. And I believe you get a permit and a guest pass for that cost. So in the areas that the students have been talking about here today, yeah, there's the residential permit program, and then the high-rise buildings usually do have garages.
And I think just from a student perspective, you basically find a way to make it work. You realize, like for me, if I do street parking where I live, I know that if I go out during the day, most likely it's going to be a lot more difficult to find parking when I come back. So if I want to go grocery shopping, I'll just go later at night when there's a good chance that parking will still be available. So you just kind of learn how to make it work, and then your neighborhood, you find streets that you're more likely to find parking at certain times of the day. So.
Yeah, I live in Canton, and it's the same deal. Is that if you're coming home late at night, parking can be a bit of an issue. But there's a Rite Aid a couple blocks away that we all know everybody can park in there. So it's just finding the opportunities within each neighborhood. More questions? Yeah.
What's the MARC's community like multiple schools outside?
Sure. The question is, what's the arts community like within the school and also in the community?
There's not a whole lot within the school. I worked in the film industry before I came here, and I have a BFA and whatever, so I was a little more used to that kind of atmosphere. But there are, like the Creative Alliance at Patterson Park, which Mindy had on her list, which is in Highlandtown. They have a lot of film screenings, music performances, other performances, and they also have classes and workshops. And there are some neighborhoods that are sort of have more of an arts community than others.
I just wanted to say that within the Johns Hopkins community, there's the Johns Hopkins Medical Institute. I think it's like Chamber Music Society or something. I went to a meeting for it, and it's basically, you know, faculty, staff, students who play instruments and would like to, you know, create little chamber groups. So I play the flute, and that's something that I tried to do. I also play the flute at Mass every Sunday at the Baltimore Basilica, which, by the way, you guys should go see. It's the oldest Catholic church in the U.S. So, I mean, if you really are looking for opportunities, I think they are there. You might have to look a little bit harder than if you're like in New York, but I think it's the same everywhere. So.
I wanted to throw out there a quick thing I found out about sometime when I was here. It's called BaltimoreFunGuide.com, so maybe Google that. Each week they send out about 8 to 10 different opportunities for theater, musical sort of productions, arts sort of things, and they're discounted tickets. So normally it'll be like a half-price ticket that you can buy, and there's different sort of ways, like maybe you just print it out or you just tell them at the box office some code. So that's a great opportunity if you're interested.
I'd also like to recommend, goldstar.com. It's a sort of like Groupon, except a lot better, and it's for like performances, like arts, you know, theater, museum admission, that type of stuff. They sell tickets, you know, even up to the last minute for half price. And Groupon.com is also a good resource as well to find out, you know, stuff that's going on and discounts that you can get.
More questions? Lunch is running a little late, so we have time to ask your questions. Yeah. Wait, I can't see. Sorry, you were right under the light. Go ahead.
I think the MPH student left, but I think it's very similar for all students here. It's really a matter of what you make it. So I mean, some people are like, I'm just gonna study during the week, and I'm gonna work as hard as I can, lots of hours, and I want my weekends free, and you can do that. And some, you know, want to balance it out more, so maybe they just have Sundays off. So it's really a matter of your study habits, what you're looking to get out of this program, and some of those other things. So I mean, it's kind of hard to say.
And the amount of courses you take. More questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that one. This building is open 24/7, 365. So Hampton House is the other building, which is our other main building. That is generally, I believe, 6 to 9, and then on the weekends it's 8 to 8. But you know, this building never closes.
Which is a nice thing about living close to campus for those of us within walking distance. If we ever need printing, if we don't have that, or just want to meet here on campus, it's very convenient.
Yeah. The question is, what is access like to facilities on the Homewood campus?
I've really just mainly used the library, but like, no, it wasn't you saying that there is the gym if you pay a fee, but yeah, the library is nice, and you don't even have to use it. If you need a book from there, you can order it online, and it will come to this campus for you. But yeah, I mean, you're free to wander around there, and they have a grad student organization, and they often coordinate with student assembly to do things together.
Yeah, and they often host events that they let us know about, so you can go there for events. And then Hopkins lacrosse, for those of you that are into that, is big. And so, you know, being a student here, you can go to those games for free, which is also nice.
Lacrosse is huge here. I'm an out-of-towner, and that was an adjustment, but they love it here, and they're really good. It's fun to watch. Does somebody have a question? Yes. The question is, what's the average number of courses or credits that you take in a term? This is going to be fun.
Again, it really just depends on what you want to make it. Obviously, there is the minimum amount that your department will tell you need to take in order to be a full-time student and in order to finish all your stuff on time, all of your course requirements. But I mean, I found that there's a huge range. I know people that, you know, take 12 or 16. I am taking the full load, which is 22, and I've been doing that since first quarter. And it is a lot, but you know, you figure out a way to make it work for you if that's what you want to do. I found one of the benefits of Hopkins was the like sheer amount of courses that they offer, and they're just all of them are like super awesome, but you only have so much time to take them, and so I was loading up on them, and like, you know, it works for me. So it really just depends on what you want to do.
So I know my department requires you to take at least 16 units each term, and so classes range from 1 unit to up to maybe 5 units, and so it's really a balance of whatever those unit distributions are. And I think it's a matter of what you value. Again, so she's taking more classes, but if you get more involved with other opportunities like research or extracurricular sort of things, you might find that you want to scale back a class or two, meet the minimum requirement, but then be more involved with like Source. They have a lot of wonderful opportunities like Mindy mentioned, so it's just a matter of that.
And you can also, I mean, you know, the classes in your department and other required classes you're going to have to take for a letter grade. But if there's some, you know, I took neuroimmunology. I don't know anything about that. You know, you can take stuff pass fail, and then it's not as big a burden. I mean, you're learning something and whatever, as opposed to when you audit and never go.
So I think it depends. I didn't really mention, but there's a east wing and there's a west wing. So the west wing, the 5th, 6th, and 7th floor are guys' floors, and so you have your individual room, you have a community shower and community bathroom on the east wing. Either 4 or 8 people share a suite, and then they have a shared kitchen area, shared bathroom, shared shower. So I think the east wing is generally a little bit more competitive, and you need to get in an application a little bit sooner than the west wing. One thing I would recommend, at least on the west wing, they have small, medium, and large rooms, so I think it's maybe like $50 more for a medium or something like that, and also for the large. So if you can take advantage of one of those, just email Robin Linzo. I think she'll be at the activities fair. Also talk to her. But I think there are still some medium and large rooms available, so those give you a little bit more space. I will mention that Reed Hall is closing after this year. They're actually building, I think, a 12-story or 20, something like that, new graduate student dorm, and a little bit different location. It's just a couple blocks from here. The prices will be a little bit more expensive, but it will also be a little bit nicer. So for those of you who are going to be around a little bit longer than 1 year, that could be something to look into.